Good evening, everyone. We're going to call the meeting to order, and we'll start with the land acknowledgement statement. We acknowledge that the ground on which we live is the traditional territory of Caldwell First Nation, of the Three Fires Confederacy, and the original people of Point Pelee and Pelee Island and surrounding lands and waters, and that of the Huron-Wendat and Wyandot peoples. We recognize and respect the First Nations who are stewards of the land and waters of Turtle Island and who have embraced this stewardship since time immemorial. We would also like to acknowledge the contributions of other nearby First Nation communities and all original people across Turtle Island. We will now have a moment of silent reflection, followed by the playing of our national anthem. Okay, if I can get an adoption of the agenda for September 12th of 2023. Councillor Carrick, support Councillor Vicio-Spagnolo, all in favor. That carries. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest? There being none, can I get a motion to receive the minutes from the regular council meeting held August 8th, 2023? Councillor Reno and Councillor Burns, support. All in favor? That's carried as well. Mayor's comments. It's a little bit longer because we haven't met in a little bit, so bear with me. Many things have happened since we last met in August. Kiddies are back in school, and we want to wish everyone a successful school year. Just a few weeks ago, several members of council attended the AMO conference in London. It was a great week of networking and learning. We did not have any delegations with the Conservative Party this year, but we did meet with leaders of the opposition to share thoughts and concerns and to get tips for funding assistance, grant programs, and advice in several different areas, including healthcare, housing, infrastructure, and environmental. All in all, it was a great learning experience for council members, and with some of the connections made, we hope to see some ministers heading to our area in the coming year. We had another well-attended night market, which was held at the end of August, and our final one of the season is coming up on September 24th. And this one will be held at the Event Center on Front Road, correct? Yes? Okay. Our next round of markets will be held later this year in conjunction with the LaSalle Holiday Lights Heritage Nights, and for more information will come at a later date for those. Last weekend, we were finally able to host our new event that replaced the Craft Beer Festival, and it was called The Last Call Before Fall. The positive feedback was amazing, and I wanted to share some of those public comments with everyone tonight. Went to Last Call Before Fall event, and it did not disappoint. We had a great time. For everyone who's going tonight, enjoy. We will definitely be attending next year. We had so much fun, and we met a bunch of our local neighbors we had never met before. Great food, wine, beer, and spirits, and Buck 20 has grown into an amazingly polished band. I hope this is the start of a lot of community events like this. Congratulations to everyone involved in organizing it. It was very, very well done. An incredibly fun night with great food, great wine, beer, and spirits, and one of the very best bands around. A sellout crowd, perfect weather, and a whole lot of happy people. I hope we have a bunch more events like this. What a great evening. Congratulations to everyone involved in putting this on. I know how much work it must have been. Just one more reason why this is such a great community in which to live. Congrats to the town of LaSalle. Last Call Before Fall was great. This is an event that people from all over Essex County would visit. I have been to many events over the years in other communities, and this event stands out. Great job to everyone who organized this event. Classy inside with reasonable drink prices and live music while you can still hear people talk. And finally, what a great event. Very well organized, awesome turnout, and an overall fun night. Thanks to the committee who invested so much time to make it successful. And those are just a few of the comments. I mean, we could have went on forever. There were so many positive comments. But I wanted to share those tonight with everyone because oftentimes we only hear the negatives and we don't get to hear how amazing our staff is. And the event truly was incredible. Every detail was thought of. It was so well planned, organized and executed. And dare I say, this was probably one of the best events we've ever held in the town of LaSalle. I know it takes people from every department to make an event like this a success, so I don't want to name specific people in fear of forgetting someone. This truly was a team effort, so thank you and congratulations to all of you. I'd also like to thank TWEPI for their support and planning of the event, and then also all of our vendors who took a chance on a brand new event. We look forward to next year's, or maybe we'll come up with a couple more, I don't know. It's the comments we keep getting. And then finally, on a somber note, we'd like to extend heartfelt condolences to the Rosati family on the loss of their matriarch, Vince Rosati. The Rosati family has been prominent in LaSalle for decades, and our thoughts are with you during this difficult time. And with that, we'll move on. No public meetings or hearings, no presentations and delegations. So item H, staff reports and correspondence for council's action. Number 1 is the pre-approval for the North Entry Gardens for the Event Center, and I'll have Mr. Kabuchi take over.
Thank you. Mayor and members of council, the report in front of you tonight is for the pre-approval of the North Entry Gardens, which is at the Event Center. This is a beautification project along Front Road, adjacent to the new parking lot. So pretty much from the Event Center to the entranceway of the parking lot, we're looking at adding in gardens and trees and some benches there. The estimated price for this project is roughly $190,000. So we're asking for approval in the budget for that, as well as the authority to sign a contract with the lowest bidder when the results come in, and so that we can save time without having to go through that process. The funding for this project will come from the LaSalle Landing Waterfront Reserve, as well as we're receiving some grant funding from OMAFRA, as well as some Windsor Essex Community funding. Both of those combined is about 40%. Total project would be 190, and then 40% of that would be funded through some grants when it comes in budget. So I can answer any questions you guys may have regarding this report.
Thank you very much. Members of council, Councillor Renaud.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was just wondering, I mean, we've looked at some different pictures and things over time. With the grant approval, with the grant submission, I'm sure there was probably some pictures. Do we have any kind of graphics just to get an idea of what we're looking at and the scope of the project?
I have the architectural drawings on my computer here. I have no idea how to show that to you other than bringing up my laptop. Just give me a second and I can show you that.
Okay, any other questions or comments while we wait for that? Councillor Desjardins.
Thank you, through you. I just want to add that hopefully they will complement what's there now. I think the front of the building right now, the flower pots that are out there, I think everything is looking really good. I like seeing all the green. I think people appreciate it. I think it suits where it's sitting. So hopefully the Councillor Renaud kind of stole my question. So hopefully the diagrams or the graphics that you have will match it. So I'm looking forward to see what we have. Thank you.
Councillor Renaud.
One follow-up question. Does this affect what the Horticultural Society is trying to do? Is this part of this project as well? This is in the same area.
So this is,
Thank you.
they are part, if I'm correct on this, of the, where's the event? Where did they go? I lost their name. Windsor Essex, their Community Foundation. So their donation goes through them and then comes as one to us. I hope I explained that right. Okay. Any other questions or comments? No? Anyone have any Jeopardy music to play for a couple of seconds to kill some time?
Play the Jeopardy music.
There we go, thanks.
For the record, I will make the motion without seeing the pictures. I do believe that when someone's in line to give us money to help us help a project, we need to take that initiative. So I will make the motion to approve.
And I'll support it.
I believe we did see the plans once before. Mr. Mara?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. We had come to council with a full conceptual rendering when we announced the sponsorship and the various components. It was subject to a previous council report. Sorry we didn't have those available for you tonight. It was just a continuation of moving forward. But certainly, I think Mr. Capucci is working with IT to see if they can pull something up on the screen so that council can get a better visual of what is proposed there.
Thank you.
Sorry.
It's okay. Do you want us to? Yep.
Thank you, through you. Just a question, I think maybe to Mr. Mara. Is there potential for naming, sponsoring benches along that area?
Thank you for the question, through you, Madam Mayor. As part of that previous report that we came to council with, one of the recommendation was a sponsorship strategy for the entire area. So that will fold into part of it. So certainly we will look at what opportunities there are and how to recognize certain aspects. This particular garden in its entirety is being sponsored and recognized through the Windsor Community Foundation as well as the LaSalle Horticultural Society. But the individual benches may become available, but certainly through the sponsorship review, we'll look at the various options.
Well, it's not often we get stumped by just can we see the pictures, but apparently that's the key for us. So we will make those available to members of council. We will forward them via email to members of council. And oh, wait, maybe.
He had to email him to Ian, so Ian's back there. He's going to put them up in a second. There we go.
Yeah, so that's the main picture there. Everything else in this deck is essentially more detailed drawings, but what you're looking at there is front road. That'd be front road. That'd be the extended sidewalk, and those are the trees, bushes, and the gardens are in the top corner there of the flowers. So the events, those people would be walking towards the events there, if I remember correctly.
Mr. Mara?
Madam Mayor, we do have a little bit better of a presentation, but we'll share that with council individually after the meeting.
Okay, thank you. So with that, we have a mover, we have support, all in favor, and that carries. Thank you. Item I is consent agenda. There are 3 items on the consent agenda. Did anyone want to speak to anything specifically? Nothing? I do actually want to, if possible, pull out item number 1, which is the LaSalle Fire Service Report. Do we vote separate or do? Voting that one's first? Yeah. So did you guys, before we discuss item 1, did you want to move item 2 and 3? So moved. Councillor Burns, Councillor Carrick, all in favor? And so we can discuss item 1, which is the fire service report. If you want to maybe give a summary, and then I just have a quick question.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So it's a little bit past time now, but this is the second quarter report. We're, starting to work on our third quarter report. But the second quarter was a very typical quarter for us. There were no unforeseen events, and the call volume and the distribution of the call volume was very typical. We had one staff member that resigned, a volunteer firefighter that resigned during the first quarter. But I think the only thing that is noteworthy of highlighting, if you look at the call volume chart, you'll see that Q1 and Q2 are, when you look at both of them together, they're higher than any other years represented there. And just to give you a little bit of a foresight of what's going on, I didn't check today, but as of yesterday, we were 71 calls ahead of where we were the same day the previous year. So our call volume is definitely following the trend of our population, and we're continuing to manage that appropriately. And again, it was a great and typical quarter for us.
Thank you. I think you knew what I was going to ask. That was I was looking at the bars there, and they were quite a bit higher. And then I was looking at your graph underneath with the percentage of total calls. When we look at the percentage of total calls, I know it says 94%. What's the 6% that's missing?
That's a great question. So we have like an other category, right? So they may be down power lines, or they may be, rescuing a pet out of a laundry tub or something like that. They just don't qualify, there's just no good basket for them to put them in. So those are the kind of the unknowns. But again, if you go back a couple of reports, we had a high percentage of motor vehicle accidents in the one quarter, and we're back to typical numbers. Again, they're back in line with our typical trends.
Thank you, because that was my question when looking at some of these numbers, was how they did compare to previous years. And I don't know why you don't have a cat and tub category here, but clearly we didn't need it. But no, I appreciate the explanation, because that's what I was looking at, was that the bars for 2023 were quite a bit higher, but we have experienced growth, so that makes sense. Anyone else have any questions or comments on that report? We can get a motion to receive it. Councillor Riccio Spagnolo, support Councillor Reno. All in favor? That carries. Okay. Committee matters. There was the County of Essex highlights for August 16th, 2023. Any questions on that? If not, we can get a motion to receive. Deputy Mayor Capata, support Councillor Desjardins. All in favor? And that carries. Any questions and statements by council members? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship. I have 3 questions. I think Mr. Mara might be able to help me with the one. Mr. Mara, I've been made aware of a circumstance where a branch on private property had fallen on hydro lines, and I'm aware that because it's touching the lines, it's not the responsibility of the municipality. But the resident, the neighbor of the resident whose tree had fallen, had shown me that the damaged limb was still attached to the tree, despite the fact that it no longer touched the lines. I'm just wondering how I could give some advice to this resident as to what they can do. They're concerned that the broken limb may fall. It's substantial, about 30 feet, and I'd say a good, my estimation, it's got to be a good 700 pounds or something like that. Any assistance you can give to me, I'd appreciate to pass on to the resident, sir.
Thank you for the question through you, Madam Mayor. Any tree maintenance of trees that lie on private property are the responsibility of the property owner. Should any branches be in contact with the hydro lines, we would advise them first to contact the hydro authority. In this case, it's probably Essex Power, to deal with those branches. Otherwise, they can call a tree service, and the tree service would be able to provide them direction on what they can do and what they can't do around those live wires. But if it is a private property tree and on private property, it is the responsibility of that property owner to maintain those trees.
Thank you very much, Mr. Marr. I thought so, but I just wanted to make sure that I understood the rule before I offered my 2 cents. Next one I think might be for another member of the team there. I've received a call about just some commercial vehicles parked on a roadway, on a highway in the community. And I know we'd amended a bylaw. I'm just, again, looking for the appropriate direction to get back to the resident as to what they can do or what we can do to assist them.
Thank you for the question, Deputy Mayor Akpata. The current bylaw that we amended allows for 1 commercial vehicle in the driveway and 1 commercial vehicle in front of the owner's home. So a total of 2 commercial vehicles associated with the property. And the bylaw that's within the bylaw section of tonight's agenda reflects that change.
Thank you very much. I'll let the resident know. And my final one is one where I'm looking towards for the team for some direction. I've received some calls about a large piece of property that's needs to be taken care of. But it's not, I don't think it's zoned exactly residential. And again, I don't want to make a social miscue as I give the residents some guidance as to what they can do. I understand that we have different, can I use the word rules, or different accepted levels of behavior depending on where the property may be and what it is zoned. And if somebody could just keep me honest on that one, I'd appreciate it, please.
Thank you for the question. So our clean yard bylaw that we have, that's also on the bylaw section of tonight's agenda, it regulates those types of circumstances within the built-up area and the urban boundary of the municipality. That bylaw does not apply to properties that are zoned agricultural, so it doesn't govern the height of grass on those properties that are zoned in the ag district.
Well, thank you for that. Just knowing where the property is, I'm going to suggest that it's outside of the built-up area, and I will let the resident know about the rule for agriculture land. I appreciate your help. Those are my questions, Your Worship.
Councillor Reno?
Thank you, Your Worship. I have one for Dominic. Dominic, I've been approached by a few residents of Auburn Woods out near Sunnyside Street. And their concern is that years ago when the subdivision was created, there was a legal agreement written up where all the owners had to protect the trees and their fences had to be a certain height and things. And it's come to their attention that those types of, we'll just call them site plans, those types of site plans are no longer legal to start or to put on title now. They're wondering if those are still enforceable now, that they are no longer able to be created, if the old ones are still legally binding.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I would say if there's an agreement on title, and I can get some information from you further on this in terms of what addresses we're talking about and look up what agreements were put on title, as there are a number of types of agreements that used to be, that permitted to be registered on title that aren't anymore. I know a number of, we used to do servicing agreements, for example, for certain subdivisions or other properties that I can't register on title anymore. Now, does that make the old ones that are on title illegal? I wouldn't think so. But I would also like to see exactly what these agreements look like, what it says in terms of any sort of penalties or who's enforcing these agreements, for example. I mean, if they're silent on a penalty, or is the town responsible to ensure that this is enforced, or is it a civil matter between the residents of that neighborhood? That's something that I would have to look into. But I would imagine if it's on title, it would still have some legal effect, but I would like to see exactly what that is, because it sounds like an agreement that was before my time here.
That would be fine. If we could have a report coming that comes back just to outline that,
Can't
that would be
have-
great.
Can't have a report, just come back, you'd have to make a motion if you wanted something, but that's such a specific, a private issue, I would say, that I don't think we could have a public report on that.
On how
No, it's a legal item. So we'll have legal look into it and get back to us, and if it is something that we can bring, then we'll have you bring the motion at the next meeting. Is that okay? Okay. Councillor Desjardins, did you have a question? No? Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor Burns.
I was at AMO and had the pleasure of meeting the Solicitor General, who had just visited our police and fire department, and kudos to both of you. He was very impressed with, because it was a last-minute visit, with the cleanliness of the fire department and the police department and the professionalism of our two leaders, Ed and Duncan. So he wanted me to convey that to you, and he did say he will be back. So kudos to you guys. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments, statements? There being none, we'll move into notices of motion. Anyone have a notice of motion? Okay, I do, so I will turn over the chair to Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Please, as a chair, please go ahead with your motion, ma'am.
Thank you. So my motion is actually a request for a report from administration regarding the intersection of Matchett and Morton. I know we've discussed it in the past, but it seems as though the accidents are becoming more frequent. So I'd like to look at whether we should consider that to be a four-way stop, or if we could possibly have traffic calming measures similar to what we did on Stewart, but with the additional little, and I don't know what those things are called, that Windsor has up, to maybe try to slow traffic coming from the Matchett-Sprucewood intersection going into LaSalle. Because like I said, we're experiencing several accidents at that intersection now. So if we can calm the traffic, if it doesn't warrant a four-way, but if we can get a report on that.
So thank you, Mayor Malash. Just to comment on that, we will be bringing a report forward regarding the Sprucewood and Matchett intersection in October. And part of the review work we did was to look at both of those intersections. So we'll likely combine the information as part of that report as well.
Then I won't make that motion.
Then I will cede the chair, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. Okay. We have no reporting of closed session, which brings us to bylaws. There are 8 bylaws for a first, second, and third reading and finally passed, which are bylaws 8797, 8798, 8816, 8817, 8818, 8819, 8820, and 8821. Question, do we need to move her first? Or? Go ahead, Councilor Regis Spignolo.
Thank you, through you. Can I just get clarification on 8816, what that is exactly? The 7 daylight corners on Dunner International?
Go ahead.
Yep, through you, Madam Mayor. So there are 3 bylaws on this one where one of our supervisor revenue actually brought a number of properties to the legal department to look into where they had roll numbers assigned to them, but they were in the town's name. And in just doing this searches and cleanup, we discovered that these were daylight corners from old subdivision agreements that should be part of the road. In our current subdivision agreements, we actually have the plans made where those corners are part of the roads. So this is simply a cleanup exercise to make sure that these little pieces are part of the road. It gets rid of this roll number confusion. And so it's strictly, I would say, an administrative exercise more than it is anything formal that's happening in those bylaws.
Any other questions? Councilor Reno?
Thank you, Your Worship. In regards to bylaw 8820, there's been a number of telecommunication companies that have come through and cabled our neighborhoods over the last 5 years, and I'm just wondering what this means between us and ExploreNet, which I'm unaware of what their company provides.
I can take this one. The agreement, the municipal access agreement noted here is almost cookie cutter to what we've had with Bell and Cogeco and MNSI with regards to the, the fiber installs. We know, yeah, it's a bit of a thorn in our side, to be honest, some of when this work happens, but we do have to enter into these agreements with the communications company through the, I forget the name of the legislation. Yeah, it's mandated that we enter. However, the agreement that we set up helps protect us in making sure they meet our standards for the work they are doing within the right-of-way and making sure that, we're not overcrowding. So we haven't really gotten in the situation yet where we've said, no, you can't go in because there's no more room. It may come to that at some point. I don't know how that will play out, but we are at least, obligated to set up the municipal access agreements with the different communications companies when they request it, and then set our standards for what we want to see happen. I don't know that we have any applications from this company yet, but I would imagine we'll see a couple come in now that they have this, so. Yep.
I believe we did. We don't have an application yet, but we have talked to them, and everything right now is just overhead. It's just using the poles, using existing poles.
That's perfect to know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on the 8 bylaws? So if we can get a first, second, third, and a, I have a mover and a seconder, is that what you said? Oh, yes, I know, I was getting to that, sorry. A first, second, and third reading finally passed. Moved by Councillor Reno, support by Councillor Desjardins. All in favor? That carries. Confirmatory bylaw, that the confirmatory bylaw 8822 be given a first, second, and third reading and finally passed. Councillor Reno, Deputy Mayor Capada, all in favor? That carries. The schedule of meetings is listed below. Thank you for joining us tonight in person as well on YouTube. Have a good night.